Hi, welcome to Lit and Comp 2. Today I'm going to be going over resolving conflict and rules of the game worth 50 points. Today you'll be writing a letter to identify and resolve the conflict that happens on the street between Waverly and her mother and rules of the game. This conflict excerpt is attached to your assignment as well as the story and the recording of the story. I'm going to share that story with you right now if you need a refresher on what happened in the conflict. I had to accompany my mother on Saturday market days when I had no tournament to play. My mother would proudly walk with me, visiting many shops, buying very little. "This my daughter, Waverly Jung," she said, whoever looked her way. One day after we left a shop, I said under my breath, "I wish you wouldn't do that, telling everybody I'm your daughter." My mother stopped walking. Crowds of people with heavy bags pushed past us on the sidewalk, bumping into first one shoulder, then another. Yeah, so shame be with mother?" She grasped my hand even tighter and she glared at me. I looked down. "It's not that. It's just so obvious. It's so embarrassing." "Embarrassed? You be my daughter?" Her voice was cracking with anger. "That's not what I meant. That's not what I said. What you say?" I knew it was a mistake to say anything more, but I heard my voice speaking. "Why do you have to use me to show off? If you want to show off, then why don't you learn to play chess?" My mother's eyes turned into dangerous black slits. She had no words for me, just sharp silence. I felt the wind rushing around my hot ears. I jerked my hands out of my mother's tight grasp and spun around, knocking into an old woman. Her bag of groceries fell to the ground. Stupid girl," my mother said, and the woman cried. Oranges and tin cans careened down the sidewalk. As my mother stooped to help the old woman pick up the escaping food, I took off. I raced down the street, dashing between people, not looking back as my mother screamed shrilly, "May May, May May." I fled down an alley past dark curtained shops and merchants washing the grime off their windows. I sped into the sunlight into a large street crowded with tourists examining trinkets and souvenirs. I ducked into another dark alley, down another street, up another alley. I ran until it hurt, and I realized I had nowhere to go. I was not running from anything. The alleys contained no escape. So, for your assignment, you'll be considering that conflict and rules of the game and considering some techniques that we talked about to resolve conflict. I also included that video, Finding Confidence in Conflict. If you'd like to go back to it, that video is also attached. For this assignment, there's 6 steps. Step 1 is to pick the perspective that you're going to write your letter from, which is either Waverly writing to her mother or the mother writing to Waverly. Step 2 is to address what you did wrong during the conflict on the street and or leading up to the argument. That's worth 10 points. Step 3 is to apologize for what you did wrong during the conflict. That is also worth 10 points. Step 4, what steps will you take to avoid another conflict like this from happening in the future? That is also worth 10 points. And step 5, check that your letter is at least 2 paragraphs long. You can always write more. Step 6 is to check your writing conventions. Include a greeting. Example would be "Dear Waverly" or "Hello, Mom." Include a closing. An example would be "Sincerely Waverly" or "Love, Mom." And double check for proper spelling, grammar, and vocabulary. This assignment is worth 50 points total. You may also record your response.